There are so many characters in the Transformers films, and every single one of them is someone's favorite for one reason or another. And being a Transformers fan myself, I put together a list of my personal top 10 favorite Transformers characters. And I should mention, I only included characters from the live action films because those are the ones I have the most personal connection to. I didn't grow up with this. I grew up with this.
He's already dead.
So let's get started with number 10. He's not one of everyone's favorite, but I have always loved Barricade. He's one of the earliest Decepticons we get to see in the films, and so much about him is instantly memorable. The to punish and enslave quote that's on the side of his vehicle mode, his little Jabba's palace robot eye thing, his spinning blade weapon thing that seems kind of impractical, and of course this iconic line.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you username ladiesman217?
My brother and I quote that to each other all the time. This film came out almost 18 years ago and we still do it. Barricade's design is also fantastic. He's a basic cop car and not a crazy looking utility vehicle or military vehicle like all the other Decepticons. And when we first see him transform, we see him as Sam sees him. He looks terrifying and huge and freaking spooky. But then you see him compared to Bumblebee or other Transformers and he looks so funny. He's really short, he has these really long arms and legs and a really stubby torso, but he still has that Michael Bay super detailed freaky face. So those design elements together make him look like a gremlin. He's just a freaky little guy who wants to kill some Autobots. So yeah, I love Barricade. He's a classic Decepticon in my eyes. They resurrected him in The Last Knight, but I don't really care about that version so much, but still, he's there, I guess. So, Barricade is my number 10. Who doesn't love monkeys? They spin, they swim, they drive, they do it all.
The hell wrong with you? Hey, yo!
And they also make for some pretty cool Transformers. Optimus Primal is my absolute favorite part of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and my number 9 spot. I haven't seen a ton of Beast Wars in my lifetime, but I do remember back in the day having some of the episodes on DVD, and I also had both of the Optimus Primal and Megatron toys as a kid. And yeah, even back then, I both loved and feared these character designs.
Rhinox, maximize!
Optimus Primal in Rise of the Beasts is such a well-realized character. He shows all the great aspects of being a leader. He's a strong fighter, an intelligent strategist, and incredibly compassionate to his fellow Maximals. Also, the way he was used in the story for Rise of the Beasts was really well executed. The Optimus Prime in the film is a younger, less experienced version of the character. He hasn't yet developed his ideals of valuing life or protecting people. His sole mission in the film is to return to Cybertron. But Optimus Primal is a character from the future who took inspiration from and was even named after Optimus Prime. And through their conversations, we can see Primal influences Prime and shows him how to be the hero that once inspired him. It's a really cool time loop story where Optimus Prime's heroic actions and good nature inspire Primal, and Optimus Primal's heroic actions and good nature inspires Optimus Prime.
Time travel!
Also, this design is sick as hell. I love the little tufts of fur on his armor, his silly gorilla nose, and those bright green eyes. And his robot mode is possibly even cooler. It streamlines the design, makes him look slightly more like Optimus Prime, and he's got some wicked swords. The ending battle of Rise of the Beasts is awesome, and a lot of the especially cool moments are from him. Optimus Primal is a fantastic character, and he is absolutely the best animal-style Transformer we've gotten in the films. But that's probably because Michael Bay really crapped the bed with the Dinobots. They looked cool, but they weren't characters. But anyway, Optimus Primal takes the number 9 spot, and the Dorito himself, Starscream, is number 8. Alright, let's start with the design. He is a nearly perfect triangle, and while most people have criticized this look, I actually find it really funny and endearing, both because we can say he looks like Phineas's head, and also because they picked this look for the sake of realism. On those original Transformers films, they took special care to make sure all the robot designs look like they can functionally turn into the vehicles they're supposed to. Optimus Prime looks like he can turn into a truck. Bumblebee looks like he can turn into a Camaro. Megatron looks like he can turn into whatever the hell this is. And in order to make Starscream realistically turn from a fighter jet into a dude without making him too tall, they had to spread all that mass out horizontally, and that's how we got our favorite triangle. It's not just the design of the character that I find enjoyable, but it's also his personality and how each and every character views him over the 3 films. This dude is a snake through and through. He's always going on and on about how much he loves Megatron, but he's always trying to betray him. And it's kind of funny how in the first movie, the Autobots were actually scared of Starscream. Him showing up in the final battle actually had them shaking in their boots for a second. But by the time of the second film, no one's scared of Starscream anymore. Everyone knows he's washed by that point, especially since he was one of the 3 Decepticons who got wrecked by Optimus in that 1v3. Yeah, you don't come back from that. And his death scene in Dark of the Moon is maybe the reason he's on this list. I don't know, he's just such a silly villain. Starscream may not be the most powerful character, or the most compelling character, or even the most entertaining character, but he is pretty darn funny. And I love watching these movies back and seeing this loser of a character fail over and over again. So yeah, Starscream is gonna have to be my number 8. Number 7 is going to be Lord Megatron himself. And let's be clear, just like with Barricade, I'm talking about the original trilogy Megatron, and not either of these 2 versions. I freaking hate Galvatron, with his weird face and his stupid pixel transformation. And while the Last Knight Megatron design is admittedly pretty darn cool, he's not really a character I care for all that much. None of his scenes are all that memorable, except, of course,
Wretched human.
what a funny scene. It changes frame sizes like 3 times within a couple seconds. Who the hell makes movies like this? But classic Megatron is really cool. I love the really freaky design with all the pointy bits, his iconic face model, and of course his weapons. I will say it would have been cool for him to have the giant arm cannon like classic Megatron has. He seems kinda naked without it, but this new design still rips and tears. Character-wise, he's just flat out evil, and he has some well-realized motivations to make us understand his evil actions. In the first film, he wants the Allspark to create more Decepticons, and of course, he gets destroyed. Then in the second movie, he gets resurrected and wants to help the Fallen achieve his evil plans. And he doesn't die this time, but he does get wrecked pretty bad. And in the third film, Megatron has been, I guess, lobotomized? I don't know, he's got some Logan Paul holes in his brain. So he's just kind of rooting for the Decepticons to win, even though he spends most of the movie taking a load off. Until of course the British lady tells him that Sentinel Prime is taking over, so Megatron frickin' locks in and demolishes him. And then of course we all know what happens next. Yeah, I like Megatron. He's my favorite villain of this series and one of my all-time favorite characters. Also in the first 3 films, Megatron is voiced by Hugo Weaving, which is crazy. 2011 was a big year for him. So yeah, Megatron is number 7. Number 6 is gonna be Sideswipe. He was always one of my favorite Autobots for 3 main reasons. Number 1, his choice of weapons. Look, the other Autobots are cool for sure, but look what they're all packing. Bumblebee, gun. Ratchet, gun. Ironhide, guns. Jazz. They all use some kind of gun or cannon or whatnot, but Sideswipe, he uses swords. And I know Optimus Prime also uses swords and stuff, but he's Optimus, he's special, so whatever. But he's not just a background character who happens to have swords, he actually puts them to good use. Sideswipe cuts Sideways clean in half, which I remember very specifically being mesmerized by as a kid. Revenge of the Fallen is not a good movie, but that rips. The number 2 reason why Sideswipe is freaking boss is his design. And most of him is fine. He's just a normal looking Autobot. But the one design aspect that is truly special is of course his grippers. Yeah, instead of feet, he has wheels. While everyone else has to walk or run, Sideswipe is rolling around like he's on Heelys. And the combination of the swords and the wheels make for a pretty exceptional Transformer design, and a really so-so action figure. The third reason why Sideswipe is so awesome is his alt mode. I'm not the biggest car person in the world, but the 2009 Corvette Stingray concept is to this day one of the coolest cars ever put in a Transformers film. This thing always stands out whenever the Autobots are driving together as a team. So yeah, Sideswipe is pretty darn cool. He's so cool that we still don't know if he's alive or dead, but we never saw a body. So I choose to believe that he's still out there, wherever sentient Corvettes run free in the open fields. Sideswipe is my number 6. Uh-oh, we got a real life person on this list. My number 5 pick is Charlie Watson from the Bumblebee movie. She is one of the best human protagonists in this series. As I mentioned in my Transformers ranking video, which has become the most popular video on my channel, thank you all by the way, Bumblebee is a completely character-driven story, and because of that, Charlie is an exceptionally well-written character. In the beginning of the film, we learn so much about her, and she's struggling with quite a lot. She's in those awkward high school years, and she's not the most popular, and by that I mean she's a frickin' loser. She's also struggling with her father's recent passing, and it seems like both her mother and brother have healed and moved on really quickly, and she's trying really hard to fix her dad's old car, trying to fix the one thing she has to remember him by. This base for her character perfectly sets up the character arc that she goes through. Charlie completely forgoes everything she used to do with her dad. She doesn't high dive anymore, she doesn't go through his old music, she spends all her time on the car, thinking that once she gets it up and running, that maybe her bad feelings will go away. But when she meets Bumblebee, the two form a genuine bond, and he acts as a lot of different things for her. He's a real friend, an escape from her current life. He's a way in which she can open up about her dad and grieve in a healthy way. And most importantly, when she has to say goodbye to Bee at the end of the film, he teaches her how to say goodbye, how to process her grief, and how to go back to who she was even though her dad isn't around anymore. It's a fantastic story, and I am delighted to experience it every single time I go back and rewatch Bumblebee. And on top of her story, Charlie is a very entertaining character in her own right. Haley Steinfeld has proven to be great at more comedic roles, stuff like Edge of 17 and Hawkeye, and it's no different here. She brings a lot of energy to the more fun scenes with Bee, and I'm sure acting with a tennis ball can't be easy, but she was very believable. Charlie Watson is absolutely one of my all-time favorite characters from the Transformers films, so she earns my number 5 spot. My number 4 is going to be another childhood favorite of mine, Ironhide. To this day, I still think Ironhide is one of the best Autobots the team has ever had. Now, he never really had the flashiest scenes or even the most impactful moments. I mean, he took care of lesser Decepticons, like the one that looks like a Predator, but Ironhide has always been one of the most reliable Transformers. He always brings the firepower, whether it's his iconic big arm cannons or his big shotguns in Dark of the Moon. Also, in those first 2 films, he has some impressive feats. There's a moment in the first film where Ironhide and Ratchet are the only Autobots left, because Optimus Prime hasn't arrived yet, Bumblebee got Lieutenant Dan, and Jazz. Ironhide was a huge help to the humans there. Also, he was on the front lines in Egypt when the humans and Autobots were heavily outnumbered. He's just always been that guy. Although, if you look at his Transformers wiki page, he seems like a psychopath, because there's one paragraph that sounds freaking insane out of context and without the tone of the original scene. Going to the Witwiki residence, Ironhide was urinated on by Mojo. This unpleasant situation was made worse by Sam Witwiki's frantic refusal to let him shoot Mojo. Ironhide relented, despite the fact that it would cause rust. He also suggested shooting the parents as they were interfering with Sam's search for Captain Witwiki's glasses. Absolutely bonkers paragraph.
Butter dogs. The dog with the butter dog.
As I mentioned previously, Ironhide was a childhood favorite of mine. I had this Ironhide toy as a kid, which was freaking boss, and whenever I played the Revenge of the Fallen video game with my brother or my cousins, I always loved playing as Ironhide. He was easily the most fun character in that game. So yeah, as a kid, watching Dark of the Moon was kinda tough for me. I think Sentinel Prime is the best written villain in this series, but he's not on this list because I hate him so much. Ironhide's death hurts so much, and even now, many years later, it still kinda hurts. But at least Optimus Prime got the revenge we all wanted.
No, Optimus!
So yeah, Ironhide is fantastic. Great design, awesome personality, and an absolute MVP of an Autobot. He more than earns my number 4 spot. My number 3 is going to shock some people, but it's Sam Witwicky.
It's my manifesto.
I know all the criticisms people had for Sam over the past many years. Some people find him annoying, some people don't resonate to his story arcs, and sometimes Shia LaBeouf's acting can be over the top. What? I really don't care about any of that. Sam has always been the best human protagonist in this franchise, mostly because unlike future protags like Cade Yeager or Noah Diaz, you cannot possibly say that Sam is boring. He is one of the most entertaining characters in this series, both with how his story progresses over the 3 films, and with Shia LaBeouf's insane performance. He is so hilarious in these movies, especially in Dark of the Moon. The past few years of Transformers nonsense has completely warped Sam's mental state, and by the time of the 3rd movie, he completely snapped.
Do not hit my car! It's a collector's item! Those are my brass knuckles. That's my anklet. Do I have to take that off too? And my toe rings?
But Sam isn't just the Lamau funny guy. He is an actual character with an actual character arc. In the 3rd film. Yeah, he doesn't really have much of a story in the 1st film or the 2nd, at least not one that's worth talking about, but his story in Transformers Dark of the Moon is really underrated, and is a fantastic conclusion to his character. In the beginning of the film, Sam feels like a loser. He helped to save the world 2 times. He even got to meet President Obama and received a medal for it, but he lives in the past and struggles to move on. He's trying to get a new job and he has a new girlfriend, but he doesn't truly appreciate her or this new life that he has with her. He's still chasing that excitement from the first 2 films. But as Dark of the Moon progresses, Sam gains some much needed perspective. He almost dies a whole bunch and comes to the realization that continuously risking his life and saving the world really isn't living. And so when he gets to the Battle of Chicago, he doesn't go there thinking he's gonna save the world again. He goes there only to save his girlfriend. And it's just because he's so freaking awesome, he does also save the world in the process, and he freaking kills McDreamy. So he's my number 3. My number 2 pick might also shock some people because I didn't put him at number 1, but it's Optimus Prime. And even though he's not my personal number 1, he is objectively the greatest character in the Transformers franchise. I mean, he is the guy. He is the Transformer. Even in the bad Transformers films, Optimus Prime is still the highlight, and he has always had at least one truly epic moment in each and every film. In Rise of the Beasts, it has to be Optimus finishing off Scourge. In the Bumblebee film, it's him taking on the entirety of the Decepticon force by himself. In The Last Knight, it's his 6-man. In Age of Extinction, it's him riding Grimlock into battle. In Dark of the Moon, it has to be that big sweeping shot that ends with him killing Shockwave. In Revenge of the Fallen, it's obviously his 1v3 against Megatron, Starscream, and Grindor. And in the original film, his epic moment is something different. Something iconic. It's his final speech that he says over a Linkin Park song.
You wanna play? No! I want...
Pretty much every scene with Optimus Prime is iconic in some way, shape, or form. His characterization in the films is great. He's the leader of the Autobots, who relentlessly fights to stop the Decepticons. Peter Cullen voices him in all of the films, and he is of course fantastic in this role. That signature low gravel in his voice, and just the way he fully becomes the character is iconic. Optimus Prime also has some of the best designs in these films. You know, when he doesn't have a 10-foot hole in his chest.
So weak.
Original trilogy Optimus remains somewhat similar across the 3 films, and it's cool how you can see all the different truck parts, like the tires, the doors, and the exhaust pipes. Also, they found a really creative way to color Optimus. The red flames over the blue paint is such a cool way of giving him that classic color scheme. And the Optimus Knight design from the 4th and 5th movie is cool too. And while I don't love the more blocky aesthetic from the later films, I understand they wanted a more G1 approach. And for the most part, they succeeded in doing that. So yeah, Optimus Prime is an iconic character. His impact and importance is felt even outside of the Transformers series. I mean, he's even in Fortnite, for crying out loud. Before I move on to my number 1 pick, I want to first mention my honorable mentions. There are a ton of Transformers characters I love who couldn't quite crack the top 10 for me. Characters like Mirage, Ratchet, Jetfire, Q, Dino, Topspin, Leadfoot, Roadbuster, Cogman, Stratosphere, RC, Frenzy, George W. Bush, Shockwave, Soundwave, Dropkick, Blitzwing, Grimlock, Scourge, Unicron, Rhinox, Cheetor, and of course, 2009 Megan Fox. Those characters are all cool in their own right, but there has always been one Transformer I have loved over all others. My number one pick is of course Bumblebee. Were you able to guess he'd be my number one pick? I mean, I did choose this background color for a reason. In my last Transformers video, I mentioned that Bumblebee is the GOAT, and I still 100% believe that. The heart and soul of the Transformers films is the connection Bumblebee forms with the main characters. His friendship with Sam, as well as his friendship with Charlie, are both incredibly well written. I love me a good Optimus Prime fight, but I think I like the Bumblebee fights more. Because Bumblebee is almost always protecting one of his close friends, it adds more personal stakes into the fights, and also the way he fights is incredibly entertaining. And Bumblebee's design is the crowning jewel of all Transformers designs. In the original Michael Bay films, a racing striped Camaro is iconic, and everything including his proportions, his integrated weapons, his face design, his little door wings, his battle mask, and even the fact that he communicates through his radio are all absolutely perfect design elements that make Bumblebee the most unique Transformer of all time.
I have come here to kick ass.
Character-wise, he's also a complete team player. He's always there to fight the good fight, to protect people. He's simply a hero in the truest form. Literally every single thing about Bumblebee is perfect. I love this guy. He's always been my favorite since I was a kid, but that's my list. Who are your personal top 10 best Transformers characters? Leave a comment and let me know. And if you want to see another Transformers video, you can click on this video where I rank every single Transformers movie. Or you can click on this video that YouTube picked out just for you.